Let's start our first news. Paddy Pimblett is already looking ahead to his next move, and two huge names are currently at the top of his list. During a recent appearance on the Greenlight with Chris Long podcast, Paddy made it clear that he wants either Ilia or Arman next. With the lightweight division constantly shifting, Paddy believes a matchup against either man would be a massive opportunity. And while he has had a long-running rivalry with Ilia, his feelings toward the two fighters are completely different. Paddy explained that, despite all the trash talk and tension between himself and Ilia over the years, he still has a certain level of respect for him as a fighter. However, when the conversation turned to Arman, Paddy did not hold back. He said that if he faces either Ilia or Arman, he plans to make the build-up as intense as possible and completely embrace the rivalry. But Paddy also explained that he approaches fights differently depending on the opponent. According to him, if he were matched up against fighters such as Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira, the situation would be different because he respects and likes those fighters. With Ilia, however, the history between them makes the potential matchup far more personal. Paddy admitted that he respects Ilia's abilities, even though the two have exchanged words for years. He described Ilia as someone he would love to fight, while making it clear that his interest in facing Arman comes with absolutely no respect. Paddy criticized Arman's wealthy background, arguing that it makes it difficult for him to relate to the path other fighters have taken. Still, Paddy acknowledged one important thing: Arman is a good fighter. Now, Paddy has officially put both Ilia and Arman on notice. With two of the biggest names in the lightweight division on his radar, his next could become one of the most talked about matchups in the UFC. Move on to another news. Arman has now shared an interesting suggestion for Ilia's next fight. With Ilia's return still uncertain, Arman believes there is one opponent who could make sense for the former champion: Michael Chandler. Following Ilia's loss to Justin Gaethje, there has been plenty of speculation about what comes next. His management has indicated that they are hoping to see him return before the end of 2026, but his next opponent has not been confirmed. During a recent interview with UFC on Paramount+, Arman was asked where he believes Ilia currently stands in the lightweight title picture. Instead of simply discussing the rankings, Arman proposed a potential matchup. He suggested that Ilia could fight Michael Chandler next before eventually making another run toward the title. Arman explained that Ilia is still recovering and could use a fight before returning to the championship picture. In his view, Ilia should take an easier matchup, get back into the cage, and then make another push toward the belt. However, there is an important detail behind this suggestion. Arman and Ilia have been involved in a heated rivalry for months, so there is a strong possibility that Arman was not being completely serious. And while Chandler has been one of the most respected lightweights of his generation, the matchup may not be the most realistic option right now. Chandler is 40 years old and has suffered 4 consecutive losses, making a fight against Ilia a difficult sell. Still, Arman's comments add another interesting name to the growing conversation surrounding Ilia's comeback. Whether he was serious or simply taking another shot at his longtime rival, one thing is clear: Ilia's next move remains one of the biggest storylines in the lightweight division. Move on to another news. Dana White is facing some serious criticism after revealing how much money fighters who reached the UFC through the Contender Series have earned since the show began. Following the latest Contender Series event, Dana stated that fighters who earned UFC contracts through the program have collectively made around $225.3 million since 2017. On the surface, that sounds like an incredible amount of money. But once the number was broken down, the reaction from parts of the MMA community changed completely. Critics pointed out that the total includes fighters who went on to become major stars, meaning the average earnings per fighter can be much lower than the headline number suggests. With hundreds of fighters coming through the Contender Series, some analysts estimated that the average works out to roughly $535,000 per fighter across the entire period. Spread over several years, that figure looks far less impressive, especially after considering taxes, coaching expenses, training costs, and other expenses fighters have to cover. Another criticism focused on the UFC's overall financial performance. The company reportedly generated hundreds of millions of dollars in operational profit in a single quarter, while the combined figure Dana highlighted represents nearly a decade of earnings for Contender Series fighters. Some fans also pointed to the massive paydays earned by boxing stars. For example, Floyd Mayweather reportedly made more than $225 million for his 2017 fight against Conor, showing just how dramatically athlete compensation can differ between combat sports. To be fair, there is no denying that fighter pay has increased, and the Contender Series has provided a major pathway into the UFC. Several fighters have used the opportunity to become champions and established stars. Still, the debate over fighter compensation clearly isn't going away. Dana's attempt to highlight the $225.3 million figure has instead sparked a new conversation about how much of the UFC's enormous revenue actually reaches the athletes inside the cage. Move on to another news. Sean Brady has made a surprising prediction about Shavkat Rakhmonov's future, claiming he believes the welterweight contender may never fight again. Brady recently spoke with Daniel Cormier, and during their conversation, the two discussed what could happen next for Shavkat. While Shavkat has reportedly been working toward a return, Brady focused on the repeated knee problems that have disrupted his career. According to Brady, the biggest obstacle isn't simply getting back into the gym or hitting pads. The real challenge is surviving an entire fight camp without the knee issue returning. During the discussion, Cormier suggested potential matchups involving the welterweight contenders, but Brady quickly pushed back on the idea of Shavkat returning to competition. Brady explained that Shavkat has repeatedly attempted to make his comeback, only for his knee problems to interrupt the process again. Because of that pattern, Brady believes it may eventually become impossible for Shavkat to complete the demanding preparation required for a UFC fight. He pointed out that training camp can be even more difficult than fight night itself. Fighters have to train intensely for weeks, repeatedly putting their bodies through hard sessions while preparing for every possible scenario. And according to Brady, that's where Shavkat's biggest problem could be. He essentially argued that it doesn't matter if Shavkat can hit pads or perform certain training sessions. The real question is whether his knee can hold up through an entire camp without breaking down again. Brady also noted that recurring knee problems can become extremely difficult for fighters to escape. Once an injury repeatedly returns, every comeback can become another test of whether the body is capable of handling the physical demands of elite MMA. However, Brady's comments are still just his opinion, and there has been no confirmation that Shavkat is permanently retiring. If Shavkat can recover fully and get through a complete training camp, he could potentially return to the welterweight division. For now, though, Brady clearly believes the repeated setbacks have created a serious obstacle. Until Shavkat can prove that his knee can withstand the demands of a full camp, his UFC future remains surrounded by uncertainty. And that makes any potential comeback one of the most closely watched stories in the welterweight division. Move on to another news. A serious controversy has emerged following the latest Dana White Contender Series event, with Namo Fazil claiming that an altercation involving members of a Chechen group affected his preparation before his fight. Fazil faced Kike Brito and suffered a brutal knockout loss in the third round. But after the fight, Fazil released a lengthy statement explaining that he believes the events before the bout played a role in his performance. According to Fazil, he was in the middle of an extreme weight cut when a group arrived at his hotel room. He said he had already lost more than 10 kilograms and still had several kilograms left to cut before making weight. Fazil claimed that around 15 people came to his room and confronted him while he was preparing for the fight. He alleged that one person slapped him twice, while his coaches attempted to prevent the situation from escalating because Fazil still had a fight scheduled. Fazil said he told the group that he wanted to finish his fight first and deal with the situation afterward. However, according to his account, tensions continued until a scuffle broke out. He claimed his coaches intervened, and the other group eventually left the area. Police were reportedly called, while shouting and commotion could be heard around the hotel lobby. Despite everything that happened, Fazil said he still went through with the fight, but he admitted that he wasn't able to perform at the level he normally expects from himself. The situation has attracted additional attention because members of Khamzat's team were reportedly seen reacting to Fazil's knockout loss on social media. However, that alone does not establish that they were involved in the alleged hotel incident. Fazil also previously fought and defeated a Chechen opponent, Khamzat, and there were reportedly some negative comments surrounding that matchup. Those details have led to speculation about whether there was a connection, but nothing has been independently confirmed. Dana White was reportedly asked about the incident after the event, but he said he did not know who was involved. For now, Fazil's allegations remain his account of what happened, and there has been no confirmed evidence publicly establishing exactly who was responsible. Still, the accusations have added a serious layer of controversy to an already difficult night for the fighter. Move on to another news. Several new UFC fights have now been revealed across upcoming events, with fresh matchups scheduled for cards in Shanghai, Las Vegas, and Paris. First, Newsy is set to make his UFC debut against Xiaolong on the August 29th card in Shanghai, China. Newsy hasn't competed since October, when he scored a stoppage victory over Lucas Rodriguez in Cage Warriors. His opponent, Xiaolong, is looking to turn things around after suffering consecutive losses to Cody Garbrandt and Su Yongyu. He currently holds a 1-3 record in his official UFC appearances. Also on the Shanghai card, bantamweights Lawrence Louis and Hector Santiago are reportedly set to face each other. Louis enters the matchup riding a 5-fight winning streak, with his most recent victory coming by split decision in January. Meanwhile, Santiago is making his way to the UFC after building an impressive 6-1 professional record. In his most recent fight in May, he stopped Paulo Nogueira. Moving over to Las Vegas, strawweights Lupita Godinez and Ketan Souza are scheduled to meet on the October 10th Fight Night card. Godinez will be looking to bounce back after losing to Tatiana Suarez in April. She has gone 2-3 across her last 5 fights. Souza, however, enters the matchup with momentum, having won 2 straight fights against Ariana Carnelosi and Bruna Brazil. Finally, former tough competitor Deline Benuash is reportedly set to make her UFC debut against Sofia Montenegro at the September 5th event in Paris, France. Benuash last fought in December, submitting Lindsay Payne while competing for Aries FC. She has won 4 of her last 5 official bouts. Montenegro will also be making her UFC debut. She most recently competed on Dana White's Contender Series, where she suffered a split decision loss to Yaza Chavez. With multiple newcomers entering the Octagon and several experienced fighters looking to rebound, these upcoming UFC cards are quickly filling up with some very interesting matchups. Move on to another news. Paddy Pimblett has once again made it very clear that his issues with Arman go far beyond what happens inside the Octagon. During a recent appearance on the Greenlight podcast, Paddy discussed the possibility of facing Arman or Ilia next, and his comments about Arman were especially harsh. Paddy admitted that he recognizes Arman is a talented fighter, but that doesn't mean he has any respect for him personally. In fact, Paddy claimed he would approach a fight against Arman very differently compared to opponents he genuinely likes and respects. He explained that if he fought someone like Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira, he wouldn't have the same level of hostility because he respects both fighters. But when it comes to Ilia, and especially Arman, Paddy said the situation would be completely different. Paddy stated that if he ever shares the Octagon with either of them, he intends to make the rivalry as intense as possible. He even described his goal as completely terrorizing them during the fight. When talking specifically about Arman, Paddy took another shot at his background. He repeatedly referred to him as a rich kid and claimed that Arman's success was heavily influenced by his family's wealth. Paddy argued that without his father's money, Arman wouldn't have reached the position he's in today. He also mocked the idea of Arman enjoying an extremely wealthy lifestyle, even bringing up expensive caviar as an example. Of course, these are Paddy's personal comments and part of a rivalry that has been building for quite some time. Arman has established himself as one of the elite lightweight contenders, while Paddy continues to rise as one of the UFC's biggest personalities. if the UFC eventually puts them together, the build-up could be just as entertaining as the fight itself. Paddy clearly believes there is no shortage of motivation, and his latest comments show that this rivalry is becoming increasingly personal.